Hello dear students. Now we have come to the almost last separating techniques, that is distillation and crystallization. In the previous video we had seen the separating technique of chromatography, where we could separate out the components based on the difference in the solubility of a suitable solvent. Now today we are going to see the two separating techniques, that is distillation and crystallization. So if we talk about distillation, distillation is required to separate out the solute from the solvent. That means if we are provided with a solution and if you want to extract a soluble salt which is dissolved into that solvent, then you can use out this distillation technique. Like if you want to extract sodium chloride from water, you can use this distillation technique very efficiently. Now some might have doubt in the mind that, sir, can we use the evaporation? Well, evaporation can also be used, but this is more improvised version where you can extract out all the solvent quantitatively and both qualitatively. Next, if we have a miscible liquid, that means the two liquids are easily soluble in each other. If we talk about the example like acetone and alcohol, alcohol or water, then if we have these two mixture, the mixture is made up of two miscible liquid, and these two miscible liquid can be separated out using this distillation technique. Now the bifurcation or the classification is that if there is a difference in their boiling point of 25 to 30 Kelvin or more than that, then we can use the simple or the basic distillation technique. If we have a miscible liquid mixture which is having difference in their boiling point less than 25 to 30 Kelvin, then we have to use the advanced version of distillation, that is fractional distillation. Now in the next slide we are going to understand first the apparatus that is being used in the distillation. So first we will understand the concept of simple distillation and what are the apparatus that are used in the simple distillation. That means the assembly we are talking about. So this is the basic assembly of the simple distillation. This is a round bottom flask. Round bottom flask is used to keep or to separate out the mixture you want to separate it out. It could be a solution of a solute and a solvent, or it could be a mixture of miscible liquid. Here is a thermometer. The round bottom flask is corked at the top with a rubber cork, and it is having one opening through which thermometer is inserted. Thermometer is used to record the temperature of the vapor that would be arising after the heating of this round bottom flask, which is containing the mixture to be separated out. This is a condenser. This condenser was first invented by Liebig scientist. So it is also called as Liebig condenser. This Liebig condenser is having two vents, one outlet, one inlet. So the inlet is connected to a cold water source where the water gushes in this way. It circulates and it moves out. So the temperature of this part of the condenser is always cool or less as compared to the temperature of this area. There is this clamp which is holding up this Liebig condenser, and there is one outlet pipe which is there to give out the liquid or the solvent which have been evaporated and condensed and coming through after the condensation. This is the container where the liquid which is coming out first would be collected. Now as soon as we place the mixture into this round bottom flask, we allow it to heat. As soon as heating is being provided, suppose if we are having a mixture of acetone and water. Now we know that acetone is having a low boiling point as compared to the water. Water is having a boiling point of 100 degrees Celsius. So acetone being or having less boiling point, it gets heated up. So as soon as the temperature of acetone boiling point reaches, the vapors start arising and get accumulated in this area. Now the temperature which would be now showing in the thermometer would be the temperature of the boiling point of acetone, and it remains constant. As soon as the concentration of the acetone vapor increases, it gets pushed away into this condenser. Also, the reason of getting pushed into this condenser is that the temperature is quite low over here as compared to the temperature over here. So as the concentration of the acetone vapor increases, it gets pushed into this Liebig condenser. Now the condenser is having a low temperature, and this cool water circulating condenses the acetone. Now acetone starts getting condensed, and drop by drop it starts getting collected over in this jar. Now the temperature will remain constant till all the acetone from this mixture gets collected into this beaker. Now as soon as the temperature rises, it is an indication that the mixture which is was containing acetone and water, now we could have separated the acetone completely. That means the indication for the separation of the liquid is the rise in temperature after a steady mark. So this is the apparatus or assembly for simple distillation, and we use this simple distillation for the miscible liquids or a solution where there is a difference in the boiling point of more than 25 to 30 Kelvin preferably. So this is the apparatus where it is having its application in laboratory also and at industry level also. Now we move on to the advanced version of the distillation, that is fractional distillation. There is a bit change in the assembly or the apparatus setup of the distillation simple or simple distillation and fractional distillation. So this is the basic assembly of the fractional distillation. So the difference is you could make out is this additional feature that is being introduced into the fractional distillation. Now this is a fractionating column, where this fractionating column is consisting variety of different substances, but basically for the simple fractional distillation it consists some beads kind of material into it. Now as soon as the liquid is kept into this round bottom flask and it is subjected to heating, then the mixture gets heated up, and the liquid which is having the low boiling point as compared to the other liquid will start evaporating. And now this fractional distillation is basically used to separate out the components which are having the difference in their boiling point less than 25 Kelvin. So as soon as the boiling point of the lower boiling point liquid reaches, the liquid start migrating from this round bottom flask to this fractionating column and to the upward direction. And now the temperature in the thermometer would be shown of the liquid which is having a low boiling point. Similarly, at the same time, some of the vapor of the liquid B, which is having a higher boiling point, would also get generated. So there would be the upcoming or the movement of the liquid B also in the upward direction. But as the temperature of liquid A boiling point is lower, more and more concentration of liquid A would be getting accumulated over here in the form of gaseous state. But some vapors of the liquid B would also get rise from this lower bottom flask to the upper fractionating column. Now the temperature over here is not that high for the liquid B to get more and more evaporated or travel more in upward direction. And also these beads are providing the extra surface area on which these liquid B component settles and condenses back to this round bottom flask. As a result, the conversion of liquid B from liquid state to gaseous state and from gaseous state to liquid state continues, but the conversion of liquid A into gaseous state A continues because the temperature of its boiling point has been reached up. So the liquid A increase in the form of gaseous state increases over here the concentration, and ultimately it gets pushed into this Liebig condenser. Now as the temperature is lower as compared to this setup, it gets condenses and it gets collected into this collecting flask. Now the temperature which was constant during the boiling point of liquid A will now start to shoot up. At this time, now liquid B will be starting evaporated more and more, and the concentration would increase in this area, and hence after the concentration reaching to its optimum level, it would be getting pushed into this Liebig condenser, and we can also separate out this liquid B. Now this is the usage of the fractionating column to make the liquid settle down, which is having a higher boiling point as compared to the liquid of low boiling point. So this fractionating column is used to separate out the liquid components which is having a lower boiling point, or we can say a difference in their boiling point lower than 25 Kelvin. Now here are some of the different types of the fractionating column that comes into the usage in laboratory depending upon their utility or what kind of mixture we are going to separate it out. So these are the varieties. This is the one that was talking in the previous slide, where it is having these glass beads. These glass beads are going to provide that extra surface area. Here is another one. It is having the cylindrical movement or the circulation for that cool water that is circulating. This is another one. You can see the vents are positioned at the top. This is the fourth variety, and this is the last variety of the fractionating column. Now if we talk about the application of distillation and fractional distillation, well, it is not in the practice of a daily life of a common human being, but it is having a usage in the lab level and in industrial level. So if we see, it is being used to separate out or the production of the alcoholic beverages like the ethyl alcohol, methyl alcohol, and also different such alcoholic beverages. Also it is used to separate out the salt and water, because we require some specific salt so that we can take it and process it, and then it is more edible as compared to the salts that are being extracted with regular evaporation process. Next is fractional distillation. Fractional distillation is totally used in the industries such as the refineries, petrochemical industries, and the chemical plant. This is the setup of the fractional distillation. This is a very huge kind of distillation apparatus, around about 30 to 40 meter large. It is altogether having its usage in industrial level. So you can see on the right hand side that different category of petrols, diesels, or the fuels are being extracted according to their usages. So these are the wide applications of the distillation and fractional distillation. Now, dear students, we move on to another separating technique, that is crystallization. Moreover, we call it as a separating technique. I would call it as a purification technique, because it has almost all the usage where we want to purify the impure samples and get the pure samples. So let us see what is there in this crystallization and how does it work, and can we use it in our day-to-day life for the extraction of the pure samples from the impure compounds. So now we are going to see the diagrammatic representation to understand the concept of crystallization. So this is the diagram that will be giving us the clear idea what is going on under the crystallization technique. So this is the beaker where we take a suitable solvent in which we are desiring to dissolve our impure sample. Now first, taking this solvent, we try to dissolve our impure compound or impure sample into it, make it a saturated solution. Care must be taken that we are adding the sample slowly and slowly. That means some small fractions are added to the solvent and then we try to dissolve it completely. With this, it will be making a saturated solution. Now, when it is a saturated solution, try to add a small amount of fraction of this impure sample into this beaker itself, which is containing that saturated solution. This will lead to the impure compound being insoluble. Now we have to heat this. After heating, we know that the solubility increases. As a result, the compound which is insoluble because of that oversaturation, but now with the increment of the temperature, it will now dissolve. Now, as soon as we have prepared this hot solution, the next step is we have to carry out a hot filtration. So this is the hot solution, and now we are going to carry out a hot filtration. Care must be taken while pouring. It is dropping slowly, because if we pour it immediately, there might be chances, because of being hot, it tear away the filter paper which is there in the this conical flask. As a result, this will tear out and all the solution would be passing it through. Now after getting separated or filtered, the solution is collected into this evaporating dish. We call it as mother liquor. Now this mother liquor or the filtrate is kept on a evaporating dish or an assembly where we can heat it. Now after putting it on to the heating, care must be taken that there must be no boiling, but heating must be done continuously, and make sure that the solvent remains half of its original quantity. Now at this point we have to insert a glass rod into it, and after inserting glass rod we have to blow air on that glass rod after taking it out. If there are formation of the crystal on the glass rod, we come to know that the solution has been appropriately evaporated and we have reached a crystallization point. This is very important technique, or this is the most important point that has to be remembered, because if we do not do this, then there might be chances within a fraction of second all the solvent has been evaporated and we do not get the perfect or the desired shape of the crystal. So after checking out that crystallization point, we keep this evaporating dish in a container which is containing a water at a room temperature. Because of this, the natural cooling is been done. As the process is occurring under natural cooling, we are not adding any kind of ice into it to cool down. Natural cooling leads to the perfect crystallization of the crystal that we are demanding for. Now, the main purpose of this filtration was that if there is an impure compound or impure sample which is not soluble into this solvent, it would be automatically getting separated out. Also, because of carrying out this technique of crystallization, the liquid which is used as a solvent will be having the component of all the dissolved substances that we are aiming for. After this cooling down, only those crystal will be crystallizing out which are now insoluble at that temperature. Hence, we will be getting crystals of the desired compound. Now, after that, we take them out, put it on a filter paper, dry it, and then we can wash with a suitable solvent. Now care must be taken that we do not use that same solvent which we had used for the dissolving, because if we try to wash the crystals from that same solvent, there might be chance they would dissolve it out. Now we move on to the next important thing, that whether crystallization is better option or evaporation is a better option when we choose out to separate out the solute and solvent. Well, in crystallization we had seen that it is used to separate out the solute from the solvent in a crystallized form and a purified form. So basically crystallization is used for purification of the impure sample and extract out the pure sample out of it. So what is important, like crystallization can be carried out or evaporation can be carried out, or what is the thin line difference between the usage of crystallization and evaporation? Well, if we talk about evaporation, evaporation is to be used when the solute does not decomposes even upon heating of the solution. If there is a slight chance that on heating the solute might get decomposed in the solution, then we have to opt out the crystallization methodology. The drawback of evaporation is that if there is any soluble impurity which is there in that solvent which get easily solubilized, then on the evaporation of the solvent, the product which is left over will be having the impurity and also the desired material. So this is the basic drawback of the evaporation process. But this can be overcome when we talk about crystallization, because in the crystallization process, only the desired sample is going to crystallize out as compared to any other impurity which is present in the solution. So if we talk about any of the sophisticated production or extraction, we prefer crystallization over evaporation. But if we want to just separate it out quantitatively rather than qualitatively, we prefer evaporation process. Like if we are dealing with some of the biochemistry or medicinal products, we will be preferring crystallization over evaporation. Now, if we talk about the applications of the crystallization, they are as follow. So it is used for the purification of the salt that we obtain from the seawater. So here we first apply the separating technique of evaporation, that we extract out all the salts, all variety kind of salts from the seawater, and then we use some specific solvent to extract out the salt which we require, that is the sodium chloride salt, which is edible to us. Next is we require this crystallization technique for the purification of the alum. This alum is used in the decantation of water or purification of water from the impure samples. We also use this crystallization technique in the laboratory for extracting the pure crystals of various chemical compounds, such as we had seen the purification of the copper sulfate, we exactly get the proper crystals of copper sulfate. Similarly, we can extract the crystals of potassium nitrate also, that is KNO3. Next, it is the purification of drugs. It is very important process whenever there is a talk about the synthesis of the drug, because if there is any impurity left, it might cause to poisoning. The last is crystallization of honey. Honey is also very important uh, edible thing that we consume for health purposes. So it is important that the honey which we are extracting is pure. So crystallization is carried out for the honey for its purification. So these are the daily life examples where crystallization is used off and on field, that means it is used in labs also. Thank you.